On the 23rd of March, 2026, what began as a regular Board of Education meeting for the small upstate New York town of Lansing quickly became something much more chaotic. Including resignations, accusations, and general confusion, this board meeting left the town with more questions than answers. During this podcast, we will be piecing together exactly what happened through the voices of three women on or associated with the LCSD Board of Education. The superintendent, Chris Pedegrasso, the board president, Aziza Benson, and a student representative, Gigi Clark. Though their perspectives don't tell the exact same story, they each fill in a critical part of the puzzle that is the March 23rd Board of Education meeting. According to Superintendent Chris Pedegrasso, the meeting started like any other might.
On the 23rd, that meeting started particularly typical, and what the meeting has a process to it. It's a standard process that we follow every time.
That normalcy didn't last long.
During that time, 3 members chose to resign effective from the Board of Education. Typically, that is done either between meetings or at the end of a board meeting.
What may seem like an insignificant detail is in reality the cause of this chaos, the timing of the resignations. From Gigi Clark, the student representative's perspective, the meeting got out of hand fast.
The first person who resigned, she read her letter, and then Amy Stallone said that she would also read her letter of resignation, and that's when things started to get a little heated.
Board trustees began to disagree about whether or not the meeting should be shut down. Multiple trustees left the meeting in protest.
She requested for the meeting to end because she didn't feel that was an appropriate time to be reading letters of resignation. So then they continued the meeting.
Superintendent Pedegrasso says the resignations at the meeting crossed some important lines, both procedural and legal.
Our board protocol is that no personnel cannot be spoken of, period, either from community members or certainly from the Board of Education in public session. The board itself would have been subject to legal action had they allowed continuation to speak in any manner like that about personnel.
In public institutions, process is tantamount to success. But the issue here doesn't solely lie in the disruption of process. It too lies in the behavior of some trustees. President Aziza Benson has served on the Lansing Central School District's Board of Education since July of 2024. Although not present at the meeting on the 23rd, the board president's perspective is key, especially due to the tensions between her and some of the other trustees. Prior to the meeting, she'd come into conflict with a fellow trustee.
I pointed out to my colleagues that their actions and their behavior and their words I thought to be racist and discriminatory, and I asked them to stop. And so, resulting from that, a colleague called the police on me. It was a false report.
Though the report didn't result in anything concrete, it directly victimized Aziza, and a few weeks later, that same colleague who had reported her resigned from the board. This conflict was slowly but surely building in the background of the board for months prior to the meeting on the 23rd, and the conflict has taken a toll.
Instead of advocating for things that our district needs to advocate for, I am fighting against misinformation and fighting against comments that are untrue about me instead of working for the district. I much rather work for the district and work for the schools and advocate for what we should be doing, but now I have to fend off personal attacks.
Back to the Board of Education. As the meeting was unraveling, one can only imagine how uncomfortable it must have been to be an observer in that room.
I wasn't really paying attention to him. It was more the harsh words being thrown around by the other people. Yeah, I didn't really know what to do, so I kind of just sat there watching everything.
The meeting became so chaotic that at one point another member purported to type his resignation on the spot and turn it in during the meeting.
John Stevens quickly typed up a letter of resignation and just walked out. I think his resignation was just spur of the moment.
As the chaos took hold, the minimum needed number of board members became unfulfilled. After a few more moments of chaos, the meeting closed. So what does a moment like this really do to a school district? In the superintendent's eyes, the biggest concern is trust.
When people say things that are of opinion, it's viewed as truth, and it may be truth in that opinion, but it might not be truth in experience and actuality. So personally, I was very concerned on the impact of the community that those statements would have on the community.
Allegations, even vague, unsubstantiated ones, can affect the accused rapidly, and even affect more than just the accused.
When somebody makes a claim of none of my questions are answered, or makes a claim certainly of misuse, fraud, and those types of things, people only hear that there are signs of that.
Aziza echoes that concern from another perspective.
I think it's too much focus on the negativities and the allegations. There's always more work to be done, and I'm gonna make that my vision and my goal to continue that. To make sure we continue that.
For the students, Gigi suggests that this chaotic meeting of the board who determines their education will likely be given no mind.
I think that they're gonna forget all of this as soon as, just as quickly as they realized it was even happening in the first place.
Each of these perspectives, Gigi's, Aziza's, and Chris's, share similar values in their depictions of the meeting. Yet each differ in how those values are upheld during said meeting. Chris frames the divide as one of process.
Both groups, whether it's apparent or not, always are calling for a sense of urgency, a sense of transparency, and accountability. We also are grounded in process, legal responsibility, and that we do have to protect confidentiality.
Aziza sees something more intentional.
It's meant to be disruptive, but this is, in my opinion, a ploy to disrupt the budget and to betray the board education as dysfunctional.
And Gigi just seems bewildered by the chaos.
So I think it just spiraled out of control very quickly. I don't know what I would have done differently.
A few days later, on March the 27th, the board met again and addressed the budget they intended to address during the meeting on the 23rd. Yes, that was the meeting's original intent: budget discussions. During the meeting, the ramifications of the chaos that had happened at the previous meeting were discussed, and the remaining board seems to have maintained its composure.
We want trust, in the Board of Education, in district leadership, in our teachers, and we are, in my opinion, extremely transparent, and that was confirmed with in the next meeting.
Board President Aziza Benson is focused on continuing the board's work, despite the disruption.
We've been able to continue the board business. We've been able to stay on track. So that's a testament to the strength of our policy and procedures and dedication of people who remained on the board.
The meeting on March 23rd wasn't just chaotic. It revealed some deeper tensions within the governance of the LCSD Board of Education, as well as issues within the board's communication and ability to follow procedure. 3 voices told this story from 3 different viewpoints, and I'm sure you're curious to learn about more. Like many conflicts, the board meeting on the 23rd is ultimately too chaotic to categorize as simply right or wrong. For now, Lansing moves forward with a few questions still lingering, likely never to be answered.